Recently, the town of Fujikawaguchiko, at the foot of Mount Fuji, decided to install a giant panel to block the view of the mountain. That's right. The city government decided to cover up the country's most iconic scenery to prevent tourists from crowding there. The reason? Residents were tired of the disrespect. People crossing outside the crosswalk, littering, trespassing on private property, all in search of the perfect photo with Fuji in the background. But this is not an isolated case. More and more destinations around the world are rethinking tourism, because when fame is too much, damage comes along with it. That's why today, Bello Mundo takes you to beautiful, historic, natural places that have been or are being victims of their own popularity. Number 1. Mount Everest, Nepal. Mount Everest is one of the most coveted destinations on the planet. For decades, climbing to the top of the world was synonymous with courage and overcoming challenges. But today, this sacred mountain is paying a high price for its fame. What was once a challenge reserved for experienced climbers has become almost a tourist itinerary. Thousands of people arrive in Nepal every year trying to reach the summit, and the result is disastrous. The trails are littered with trash, bottles, torn tents, oxygen cylinders, and even human remains. According to local authorities, more than 50 tons of waste have accumulated on the slopes of Everest. And the problem goes beyond the dirt. Contaminated ice, frozen sewage, and congestion from climbers have turned what was once a dream into a chaotic experience. Some days, the line to reach the summit resembles an amusement park attraction, except at an altitude of over 26,000 feet. The government tries to limit the number of permits and charges an environmental fee to each visitor. But even so, the flow does not stop. Everest, which should inspire respect, has fallen victim to its own glory. Number 2. Great Wall of China. With over 2 millennia of history, the Great Wall was built to protect empires, and today tries to protect itself from something much more modern: visitors. The wall receives millions of tourists a year, and in some sections the scene is one of abandonment and vandalism. There are entire areas covered in trash, collapsed sections, and blocks torn out by visitors who want to take a piece of history home with them. For a long time, no one monitored anything. It was common to see people climbing the towers, picnicking on the walls, and even carving names into the ancient stones. According to researchers, more than 30% of the original wall has already disappeared, and part of this is a direct consequence of uncontrolled tourism. Some local governments are trying to restore sections and create routes with limited access, but the damage is difficult to reverse. The combination of neglect, excessive visitors, and natural degradation is eroding one of the greatest symbols of human civilization. And the worst part is that, while some try to preserve it, others continue to use the site as a backdrop for parties, videos, and commercial campaigns. The Great Wall was built to withstand entire armies, but today's enemy is much more difficult to stop. Number 3. Venice, Italy. Venice has always been a dream destination for travelers from all over the world. Canals, gondolas, Renaissance architecture, and that romantic charm that seems to have stopped in time. But the city of water has become a victim of its own success. With just over 50,000 residents and more than 30 million visitors a year, Venice has experienced an almost irreversible imbalance. Large cruise ships, which for a long time anchored a few meters from historic houses, have also exacerbated the problem. The waves caused by these vessels undermine the foundations of ancient buildings, accelerating the sinking of the city, which has been slowly subsiding for centuries. In addition, the sanitation infrastructure simply cannot cope with so many people. During periods of intense heat, the smell in the canals betrays the collapse of the system, and the cost of living has risen so much that many residents have left, turning Venice into an open-air theme park. Number 4. Roman Colosseum, Italy. Still in Italy, we now head to the heart of Rome, where the Colosseum, one of the most famous symbols in history, also suffers from the weight of fame. Built almost 2,000 years ago, the amphitheater has withstood earthquakes, fires, and even looting. But today it faces a more modern enemy: mass tourism. Every day, thousands of visitors pass through, and not all of them show the respect that the place deserves. In recent years, cases of vandalism have multiplied, with tourists defacing and even carving names into the walls of the monument. Italian authorities are trying to respond by imposing penalties. Now, anyone caught vandalizing the heritage site can pay fines of up to 15,000 euros and face up to 2 years in prison. But vandalism is not the only problem. The simple act of mass circulation already causes damage. Millions of footsteps per day wear down the ancient stones, and trash left in the surrounding area has become routine. This is the kind of destruction that does not come from armies, but from selfies. Number 5. Stonehenge, United Kingdom. If there is one place that carries centuries of mystery and reverence, it is Stonehenge. But even this prehistoric circle of stones in the English countryside has not escaped the wrath of dazzled tourists. For centuries, the sacred stones have been touched, scratched, and even broken. It was common for visitors to bring hidden tools to chip off pieces as souvenirs. In 1977, after years of vandalism, the British government decided to fence off the site and prohibit direct access to the stones. Even with the new rules, the temptation remained strong. In 2008, a tourist tried to chip off a piece of the heel stone, one of the largest in the circle. In another case, someone spray-painted a giant smile on one of the stones. It may seem like a joke, but these acts cause damage that is almost impossible to repair. Today, the number of visitors is controlled, and people can only view the monument from a certain distance. Even so, the presence of more than 800,000 people per year compacts the soil, wears down the surrounding vegetation, and accelerates the erosion process. Number 6. Altamira Cave, Spain. In northern Spain, in a region of hills and forests, lies one of the greatest jewels of prehistory, the Altamira Cave. Discovered at the end of the 19th century, it became famous for housing cave paintings over 15,000 years old, depicting bison, horses, and human hands, works that completely changed what was known about humanity's first artists. But the public's fascination was so great that it ended up becoming a threat. For decades, entire groups of tourists entered the cave daily without any kind of control. The simple act of breathing inside that enclosed space released water vapor and carbon dioxide, altering the internal microclimate and creating ideal conditions for the growth of fungi and mold. Before long, the walls began to darken, and the original paintings suffered irreversible damage. Faced with the risk of completely losing this archaeological treasure, the Spanish government made a drastic decision: to close the cave to the public in 2002. Number 7. Lascaux Cave, France. As in Spain, we have Lascaux in southwestern France, perhaps the most emblematic example of how tourism can destroy the attraction itself. Discovered in 1940 and opened to the public in 1948, the cave impressed visitors with its cave paintings dating back some 17,000 years, depicting animals and hunting scenes. The problem is that thousands of daily visitors created a fatal internal microclimate. The heat, humidity, and carbon dioxide generated by people ended up favoring the growth of fungi and mold on the painted walls. The authorities tried everything: artificial ventilation, temperature control, manual cleaning, but the damage spread quickly. In 1963, the French government decided to close Lascaux permanently to prevent the total loss of the paintings. Since then, only scientists have access to the site, and even then with extreme caution. Number 8. Cozumel, Mexico. Cozumel is a paradise island bathed by the Caribbean Sea, just off the east coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. The place is famous for its crystal blue waters, coral reefs that look like something out of an aquarium, and peaceful atmosphere. At least it was like that before mass tourism. Every year, hundreds of ships arrive there, dumping thousands of tourists at once. And this uncontrolled flow is leaving a worrying trail. The biggest victim is precisely the island's natural treasure: the coral reefs. Cruise ship anchoring, boat fuel, and even the sunscreen used by beachgoers are contributing to the warming and degradation of the corals. The water temperature around the island has already risen, and experts warn that Cozumel's reefs could disappear completely if nothing is done. Mexican authorities have created marine protected areas and limited the number of ships per day, but the impact is still visible. Species that were once common are disappearing, and many colorful stretches of coral are now whitish, a clear sign of death. Number 9. Duckbill, United States. From the Caribbean Sea to the cliffs of Oregon in the United States, the scenery changes completely, but the problem is the same. Duckbill was a unique rock formation, naturally shaped by wind and tides, within Cape Kiwanda State Park. The mushroom-shaped rock became a must-see photo spot on social media until a group of visitors decided to destroy it, claiming it was a safety hazard because a friend of theirs had broken their leg after climbing on the rock. In a matter of minutes, a structure that took thousands of years to be sculpted by nature was destroyed by human stupidity. Number 10. Antarctica. At the southern tip of the planet, Antarctica is one of the last untouched frontiers on Earth, a continent of ice, biting winds, and otherworldly landscapes. But even this isolated place has begun to feel the weight of modern tourism. In recent years, the number of visitors arriving in the region by cruise ships from Chile and Argentina has increased considerably. The problem is that each vessel leaves a visible trail: waste, fuel, microplastics, and noise that affect marine life. Species such as seals, penguins, and whales are increasingly exposed to the stress and pollution brought on by this new wave of visitors. The impact is so serious that scientists are warning of water contamination and the risk of introducing organisms that do not belong to the local ecosystem. Number 11. Machu Picchu, Peru. The ancient Inca city of Machu Picchu in Peru is a must-see destination for anyone who dreams of seeing one of the greatest wonders of the modern world up close. Surrounded by mist-covered mountains, it seems to float above the Urubamba River Valley, and the famous Inca Trail turns the journey there into a unique experience. But the fascination of so many people ended up weighing on the site. For years, thousands of visitors traveled the routes without any kind of control. Huge groups guided by unregulated agencies left traces of garbage, camped in prohibited areas, and wore down ancient trails and stones. In 2005, the Peruvian government decided to take action and imposed a limit on visitors per season, in addition to determining that the site would be closed every February for cleaning and maintenance. It also began to require tourism companies to follow strict environmental rules. Even so, the problem persists. Environmentalists, however, say the measure is only a palliative. Soil erosion, wear and tear on the stairways, and pressure on the Andean ecosystem show that Machu Picchu remains under threat. Number 12. Cinque Terre, Italy. Back in Italy, the colorful villages of Cinque Terre have also become hostages to their own beauty. Connected by narrow trails and viewpoints that open onto the Ligurian Sea, these 5 villages, Monterosso, Vernazza, Corniglia, Manarola, and Rio Maggiore, were, until recently, synonymous with Mediterranean tranquility. But social media changed everything. The search for the perfect photo turned these small communities into the backdrop for Instagram-worthy crowds. The impact was immediate. Overcrowded trails, scattered trash, and open sewers in places where once only the sound of the waves could be heard. To try to contain the chaos, Italian authorities have created access control systems with one-way trails and visitor quotas at certain times of the year. It is still too early to know if it will work, but one thing is certain. If tourism continues at this pace, those colorful houses that look like something out of a postcard may end up becoming just a memory. Number 13. Bali, Indonesia. Bali is one of the most desirable destinations on the planet. White sands, ancient temples, terraced rice fields, and a sunset that looks like it was hand-painted. But behind the perfect photos, the Indonesian island faces a serious environmental crisis, and the villain is mass tourism. The beaches of Kuta, Seminyak, and Canggu, once symbols of tropical paradise, now suffer from tons of trash every day. During the monsoon season, winds and currents bring even more debris to the shore. Disposable plastics, bottles, packaging, and even objects brought by cruise ships accumulate on the sand, turning the landscape into an open-air dump. The problem reached a critical point in 2017 when the Bali government declared a state of environmental emergency. The measure was necessary after tons of trash began to spread through the crystal-clear waters, damaging reefs and driving away marine life. Today, cleanup efforts and awareness campaigns attempt to contain the damage, but the challenge is enormous. Number 14. Maya Bay, Thailand. Maya Bay is one of the most beautiful beaches in Thailand, and also one of the most striking examples of how fame can destroy a natural paradise. Located on the island of Phi Phi Le, the small cove gained worldwide fame after appearing in the movie The Beach, starring Leonardo DiCaprio in the early 2000s. Since then, the place has become a tourist phenomenon. Everyone wanted to see the movie set, and the bay began to receive about 5,000 visitors and more than 200 boats per day. The result was devastating. The noise of the engines, the oil spills, the trash left on the sand, and even the sunscreen used by beachgoers began to destroy the ecosystem. In just a few years, more than 80% of the coral was lost, the sand turned to mud, and the marine animals disappeared. Faced with environmental collapse, Thai authorities decided to take extreme measures and completely restricted tourist access in 2018. For 4 years, the bay remained closed while teams worked to recover the reefs and restore marine life. The site only reopened in 2022 with strict visiting rules, a limited number of visitors, and a total ban on boats anchoring in the cove. Number 15. Thilafushi, Maldives. The Maldives is known for its turquoise waters, overwater bungalows, and white sand beaches that seem unreal. A true symbol of tropical paradise. But hidden among the luxury islands is another Maldives, one that tourism helped create and is now trying to erase. Its name is Thilafushi, the garbage island. A few miles from the capital Male, Thilafushi was literally born under the rubble. Originally a peaceful lagoon, it has become the country's main waste disposal site. Every day, tons of garbage from resorts and boats are dumped there. Plastics, bottles, food scraps, and even electronic equipment accumulate, and some of this material is burned in the open air, releasing toxic gases into the atmosphere. The contrast is surreal. On one side, tourists dive in crystal clear waters. On the other, an island covered in smoke and mountains of waste. In 2017, the pollution was so intense that the government had to intervene, and since then, has been trying to reverse the situation. Today, Thilafushi is the portrait of a modern dilemma. The same tourism that sustains paradise also threatens its existence. So, which of these places impressed you the most? Tell us here in the comments. If you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe to Bello Mundo, and activate the bell so you don't miss the next trips. Thank you for staying with us until the end. See you on the next adventure.